everybody, welcome back to the Let's Talk Review Show. This is the monthly show where I do all of my channel members' reviews for the month of July. And we have 5 director and channel bankroll member reviews for this month. We have Stone Gasman, who chose for me to watch 1776 on 4K Blu-ray. Kevin Kruger, who chose for me to watch American Movie on 4K Blu-ray. Frank from Frank's Media and Reviews, who wanted me to watch The Ugly Stepsister. And that one you actually guys can watch on Shudder right now, so check that one out. And then, of course, Mr. Smelly Potato, our channel bankroll member, wanted me to watch Due Date. And then Uncle V wanted me to watch After Fall Winter. And we'll also be doing 2 DVD reviews at the end of this video, so stick around for that as well. And of course, you guys can bounce around, so check the time codes. You can go and watch any review you want. If you're not interested in one, you just want to check out the other, that's cool. Bounce around, do whatever you guys like. And we're going to start it off with 1776 on 4K Blu-ray. And this film came out in 1972, so this 4K Blu-ray came out in 2022 to celebrate its 50th anniversary. And this is through Sony Pictures. And this is a 3-disc 4K Blu-ray set, and it gives you every version of the film that was ever released. One thing I found out because of Stone Gasman, who told me to make sure I watched the director's cut, because originally in 1972, the theatrical cut unfortunately was trimmed because of Richard Nixon and something with him, so the director's cut is the real version. But this 4K Blu-ray also includes the Laserdisc version, which is pretty awesome, so you can watch a bunch of different versions of this on this 3-disc set. There's also a bunch of screen tests, which I think is pretty cool. So if you're a fan of William Daniels, Mr. Feeney! Mr. Feeney! You know, he plays John Adams in this movie. You could see him doing 2 screen tests, one with him and then one with Ben Franklin, who also, that actor gives a phenomenal performance as well. Just like everybody gives a phenomenal performance in this movie. It's a big ensemble cast based on a 1969 book that was eventually turned into a Tony Award-winning play. That Tony Award-winning play would eventually turn into this film right here. And you can tell it's based on a play. Most of it takes place in one setting in Philadelphia, as we're trying to succeed from Great Britain. This is all about the build up to July 4th, 1776, the day we signed the Declaration of Independence, and we are going to be succeeding from Great Britain and become our own nation. And, you know, we all know the story, but this is exploring like what it took to actually convince everybody there to actually vote on becoming independent. You know, you would think it would be a pretty simple vote, right? No, it takes months for this to really get off the ground. John Adams is the real one pushing for this, but people don't really like John Adams in Congress. They make that very clear, so they need people to bring this up who are more likable. People like George Washington. George Washington's portrayal of this movie is great. You know, this movie very much reminded me of Amadeus in the tone of the film. You know, this was something that took place a long, long time ago. It could have been very pretentious and very snooty, but it's not. It's something that's a very entertaining film that you can go to right now and still absolutely enjoy it. Dialogue is great. The dialogue can be very funny at times. The thing that really made me laugh while watching this is the representative from New York. He never votes one way or the other. And when they finally confronted about it, I'm like, why don't you just pick a side? And he's like, have you ever done legislation in New York? Nothing ever gets done because all everyone ever does there is talk over each other. So nothing will ever be done. And, you know, and that's a funny joke because in New York, people still, to this very day in 2025, do not stop talking over each other and arguing. It's New York. It's a stereotype that is somewhat true, and I thought it was funny that they're still bringing this back up in 1972 to take place in 1776. So that was a really funny joke, and there's a bunch of that in here. And William Daniels, like I said, he's Mr. Feeney, so anytime he goes, my God, man, I'm just saying Mr. Feeney. But he's incredible as John Adams. It actually makes me think that he probably should have been a bigger actor than he was, and I'm not too sure why he wasn't. Obviously, he's a Kit and Knight Rider too, but you see him here, and it's like this guy's career should have been way bigger. I mean, he's successful and people appreciate him, but I just think he should have been. I think he should have been even bigger. Just, you know, watching this and basing it on this performance, I thought it was incredible. I thought the whole movie was incredible. I enjoyed the musical numbers. As somebody who doesn't even really love musicals, this isn't really a full-blown musical. I got to be more clear about that. I just don't really like it when the whole movie is a musical. There's plenty of musicals I do like where, you know, we stop for a moment to have a song and, you know, maybe explain some of the plot. That works fine. But if it just becomes overbearing and the whole movie's a musical, then I'm not really into it. But this movie, it's much more of a drama with some musical numbers built in, but it gets you. Like, as we're building up to the climax and the final vote, everyone giving big monologues. The entire film just works, and I absolutely loved it. I watched it on July 5th, just one day after July 4th, which is a shame. Next year, we're celebrating the 250th anniversary of America. It would have been pretty cool to watch this on the 4th of July. Just missed it, but either way, it's a fantastic film that I can highly recommend, and I can really recommend this 4K Blu-ray as well. Like I said, it's a Sony disc, so it's very high quality. I can highly recommend it. You get the 2 other discs in there as well. Let me just show you guys, just make sure you guys are aware. So there's your 4K Blu-ray disc, and you slide it over, and you're going to have 2 Blu-ray discs. And, special features is spread out a little bit. There's a bunch of commentary tracks. So if you're into commentary tracks and you're a huge fan of this film, you're going to love that. The screen tests are great, just showing you how these guys had it right before they even started filming. It was perfect. Everything was ready to go. Very professional while you're watching this movie. And it's great. It's great. I can't believe it took me this long. It just shows you a flaw in me as a human being that as I was younger, I just kind of blew past these movies because it's a period piece, it's a costume drama, and I'm like, it's a musical. I'm not going to like that kind of movie. And boy, was I wrong. I would have gone my whole life without seeing this movie if it wasn't for Stone Yes Man recommending it. I really, really appreciate it. I'm happy I picked up this 4K Blu-ray. If I was going to give 1776 a score of 1 to 10 just based on the film, I'm going to give this one a 9.5 out of 10. 1776 is a fantastic film. And the 4K Blu-ray, if I was going to give that a score on 1 to 10 too, I'll give that a 9 out of 10. The only thing I could have wanted was I would have liked to explore a little bit more of the making of this film and how that happened, but there's none of that on here, no real looking back, but really minor complaints, great 4K Blu-ray. And the next film we're going to be talking about is Mr. Smelly Potato's choice for this month. Mr. Smelly Potato is our channel bankroll member, so thank you so much, buddy. I really do appreciate all that support. And he wanted me to review 2011's Due Date. He said that this movie reminded him a ton of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. And let me just tell you, that's a fact. This is 100% Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, just a lot raunchier. Directed by Todd Phillips this time, and it stars Robert Downey Jr. and Zach Galifianakis. Zach Galifianakis is really riding the wave after The Hangover, which was also directed by Todd Phillips. So he comes in this movie, and he's really doing his shtick. Robert Downey Jr., obviously 3 years after Iron Man, the MCU is in full swing, so you get a big name like that. And, you throw him in a comedy. Zach Galifianakis is great in this movie. This is really his uncomfortable humor, his just awkward sense of humor, how he feels like he's the only person in the room and really kind of can play that selfish character, but he's also very innocent. The only thing is, if you've ever seen Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, the thing with John Candy's character is, as we build up towards the end of the movie, it's revealed that his wife passed away, and that's why he's kind of the way he is. So in this movie, they make sure to keep bringing up that Zach Galifianakis' dad passed away, and that can forgive all the shit that he's doing. But the stuff that he's doing is so much worse than what John Candy was doing in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. It's like, if I was Robert Downey Jr., I would have left this guy forever ago, but he's screwed. He has no other way of getting to his due date. His wife's about to have a baby, so he has to get there in time. And unfortunately, he's at the mercy of this guy. I mean, this guy took his wallet. It's ridiculous, everything that this guy did. I would have beat the ever-loving shit out of him and left him in the desert if he did all that stuff to me. But I guess Robert Downey Jr., he's a flawed person. He's supposed to be our Steve Martin character in this. He's not perfect as well. He could be a little bit of an asshole, but he's an asshole. He's not somebody who's actively trying to, hurt somebody. And not that Zach Galifianakis is, but he's too careless, too reckless, and I don't know, he's not on the right wavelength, and I don't know, I would not want to be in a car with that guy. But did I have some big laughs while watching this movie? Absolutely. Me and my wife Faith checked this out one night. It's a great date movie. It's a great one where you guys could just sit around laughing. And Todd Phillips makes these kinds of movies. He made Old School. Eventually he came around and made Joker, so we kind of dove into dramas. Then he made another film. Joker Folie à Deux, that doesn't get talked about. But in making straightforward comedies like this, that seems to be right in his wheelhouse. This is definitely one of the time. Is it a perfect film? No, but it's definitely something you can enjoy. Turn it on, watch it with your significant other. You guys will both have a blast. Will you remember it after it's over? Probably not. It's definitely a very forgettable film. Like I said, I do have some flaws in the way that the characters are portrayed. It's very hard for me to care about these characters. So if you're comparing it to Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, it's almost like the Temu version of that. It's a shitty knockoff, but it's still worth your time. It's still worth it for a one-time watch, but it's not going to be like that holiday classic that Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is. If I was going to give this film a score of 1 to 10, I'm going to give Due Date a pretty damn solid 7 out of 10. Next up is Kevin Kruger's choice, and he wanted me to watch American Movie. So American Movie was released in 1999. This is a documentary about, I believe his name is Mark Benquist, and he was making a film in 1995 to 1997, a short film, but he wanted to make his real main feature. He wanted to make this film called Northwestern. And, he's an inspiring filmmaker. His buddy Mike right here, he's kind of like his sidekick. And when you watch the movie, it's not made by these guys. It's made by Chris Smith. And they were just filming this guy while he's trying to make his short film, which he's going to use to piggyback into funding Northwestern. And it's just about his life and how this guy's a father of 3. But this is what he wants to do. He never wants to be somebody who lives the regular 9-to-5 life, takes care of his family. No, he's going to put himself in incredible credit card debt. And you see that in this movie. It doesn't matter, though, because he wants to live his dream. And it's a huge inspiration, this movie, even though you're like, it's just not going to work. And which is kind of a shame, because you could just see the passion from a guy who loves movies, loves to make movies. That's all he wants out of the world. The problem is obviously he's not a professional. He's got to do this on his free time. Kind of reminded me of like what I do here on YouTube, obviously to a way lesser extent, and I'm not going to put myself in that crazy amount of debt to make my dream come true. But this guy is spending all of his free time doing this. Whenever he's not working, whatever jobs he picks up, he's trying to make his short film, but he's at the mercy of like the people around him. He's at the mercy of his parents, his uncle. These people are not great actors. He needs money. He needs funding. But of course, he's, like I said, incredible debt. He's willing to take as much money to see his dream through and hope it does come true. But, he's got some flaws in his life. You can see he likes to drink a little bit, which I can understand. This guy's probably got the world on his shoulders, worrying about having a family, having to make this movie. Hopefully it succeeds. So I imagine it's probably weighing on his mind, and I really appreciate it. Now, the buddy Mike, he would have me laughing a lot throughout this movie, just because he's very lighthearted. He seems a little bit off, but he seems very, very innocent, just very nice, just a very nice guy. I enjoyed him throughout this movie. I mean, a lot of the characters, which aren't characters, these are real people, which always makes documentaries so interesting, is that we're seeing real people. You're like, these could be characters in a movie, but they're all real and they're all genuine. And seeing Wisconsin, the Green Bay Packers, you could see them winning the Super Bowl because they're if you're in Wisconsin, you're definitely a Packers fan, and showing them watching the Super Bowl in February of 1997, I don't know, gave me nostalgia for that time. I remember this time very well growing up, seeing the cars, the clothes. Man, it definitely got me, and I really did enjoy this movie. Now, the 4K Blu-ray from Sony Pictures Classics, not the greatest. It's a 1-disc set. There's only 1 disc in here. Not really too many extras. And this is a movie that was shot not the greatest. It's a documentary, so of course it's not really shot the greatest. It's not really going to translate great to 4K Blu-ray. It's just going to be a lot sharper. That's the only thing with this. That's the only thing I can say is like the 4K Blu-ray is probably not worth the money, but I didn't have it yet and I had never seen it, so I thought I'll grab the 4K. I think it was like $16 on sale. Definitely seemed worth it, and I'm glad I did because I will be revisiting this. This is one of the better documentaries that I've ever seen. There's a reason why I got the 4K Blu-ray treatment, because clearly people back in 1999 love this. It's just another one that kind of slipped by me. But thanks, Kevin. I'm really glad I finally did check this one out. I really did enjoy American Movie. Now, just check it out without the 4K Blu-ray before you pick it up, but if you really enjoy it, I can recommend it. If I was going to give the film a score of 1 to 10, I'll give American Movie a 8.5 out of 10, and I'll give the 4K Blu-ray, unfortunately, like a 6.5 out of 10. That's probably not worth it, but the film definitely is. And the next film we're going to be talking about is from Frank, from Frank's Media and Reviews. He wanted me to review The Ugly Stepsister. That name probably sounds like, what is that? Well, obviously, if you've ever heard the story of Cinderella, this is definitely a fucked up Cinderella is the best way to describe this. A Norwegian film. I think Frank said this was his favorite horror film of the year. It's a horror dark comedy. And it definitely takes the Cinderella story and flips it. Well, I guess it's still telling the story just from the perspective of one of the ugly stepsisters. At the very beginning of this movie, it's revealed that we're going to merge these two families. Both of them believe that the other has money. Unfortunately, both of them don't have money. And then when the patriarch, the father, dies, it's just the mother and her 2 daughters, and of course, the stepsister, who would eventually become Cinderella. Cinderella, though, she doesn't really like the stepsisters at the beginning. She's not really very nice to them. So we're kind of feeling bad for Elvira in this. We're feeling bad for her because she's being picked on. She knows she's ugly, and it's just weighing on her. I saw people comparing this to The Substance, and I get that because it's very much about beauty and like the weight of it, the pressure of trying to fit into society, maintain that beauty. When you see somebody like Cinderella, who's naturally gifted and beautiful, like immediately they want to put her down, Elvira and everyone, because they're jealous. They're jealous that she is that way, that she was given this gift of beauty. So what do? They make her a cleaner and everything. When they find out that she's screwing the stable boy, they get him out of there. So they're just trying to take everything away from her and make sure that Elvira's the one that can marry the prince, because of course they're greedy and they want money and they don't really necessarily care about anything but themselves, including the mother. The fact that she wouldn't even be a warm mother. She tells her kids, like, there's no chance for you guys, until finally she's getting this doctor to give her some old-fashioned plastic surgery where oh my god, that scene is brutal, because this very much is a body horror film as well, and there are some gross scenes. I'm going to talk about a scene a little bit close to the end, a toe scene. Yeah, it's pretty accurate, but my god, is it gross, and we linger on that for a long time. Even a scene with a pimple kind of grossed me out a little bit in this movie. But the thing that really stood out is the production design. In a world where I complain about all the bad green screen out there, to actually see a film like this that looks like it was filmed back then when this, was supposed to be taking place, just like in the dead of the woods, really does feel like almost like late fall, and the colors all match so well together because it's supposed to take place like centuries ago. The clothes aren't really like bright, they're very flat, except for Cinderella's bright blue dress. Of course, that's going to stand out, and that's a big moment. But those kind of moments, you'd be surprised when you see them throughout the film, because you're thinking as a fucked up Cinderella story that Cinderella is our main character. But no, I like that Elvira is our main character, and seeing how the world is weighing on her and everything she's going through and trying not to get fat, all that stuff works very well. Now, I don't think this is a perfect film. I really more admire this film than I can say I actually enjoyed it. This is one where the pacing really kind of weighed on me a little bit, so I can't necessarily say I absolutely loved it. I just really respected it. I thought it was a little bit better. Like, that's something I said about Nosferatu from last year. I would say that this movie overall is a little better than Nosferatu. It has great production design like that. Also, some really cool editing that I liked. There's one scene where they're using, like, they're trying to teach the girls to be very proper, and they got their fans out, and, like, we would just cue a bunch of, like, jump cuts to each time a new girl was doing the same thing. Really good stuff. Incredible filmmaking here. I just wish I enjoyed the movie a little bit more, but I can't knock it because it's also a very well-made film, and I can see why people who love horror films like this, why people like Frank would love this movie and consider it one of his favorite films of the year. It might not make my top 10 of the year, but I could definitely say I'm really glad I checked this one out. And if I was going to give this film a score of 1 to 10, I'm going to give The Ugly Stepsister a pretty solid 8 out of 10. And then our next review is from Uncle V, and he wanted me to watch the movie After Fall Winter. And this is directed and starring Eric Schaefer. This film doesn't even have a Wikipedia page, so you can check it out on Letterboxd. And this movie also stars Lizzie Brochure. I want to make sure I bring her up because she is phenomenal in this film. She is a French actress. And this is a movie I was surprised. I looked it up. It's got like 11% on Rotten Tomatoes. It only has 19 critical reviews. It's got a 67% from fans. I'm like, what is this movie about? It's labeled a drama and a melodrama. And my God, this movie is heartbreaking. One of the tougher watches you'll ever see. This is, if the last movie we talked about was a fucked up Cinderella story, this is a fucked up Romeo and Juliet story. My God. The movie starts off, we find our main character played by Eric Schaefer. He's a writer, a failing writer at that. And clearly, just like an American movie, this is all he wants to do, is be a successful writer, and it's just not working. Life has definitely not gone according to plan. And very early in the movie, we see him pour a whole thing of pills in his hand. Like, is he going to kill himself? Like, is he at that point? And you got to worry about his mental health throughout the entire film. Like we said, he's $600,000 in debt to the point where a homeless guy felt bad. He's like, I'll share with you, if you need anything, because, yeah, that's drowning in debt. Almost an impossibility to get out of it unless, you can build up your writing career, which is what he's banking on happening. Right now, he's got a few, 7 or 8 more publishers who have to check out his book before, maybe it'll get picked up, maybe it'll get published, and maybe that'll be his saving grace. In the meantime, he's going to go to France, hang out there, he's got a buddy there, and of course, what happens? He ends up falling for a girl there, the character of Sophie, and she is really, really sweet, but she's also got a darker side as well. She's really into, like, that domination kind of stuff. Well, really, she works for somebody who... I guess she's kind of a prostitute is the best way to put this, but she's really into, like, the whips and the chains and the leather and all that kind of scene. Like that, she's one of the tougher ones. So if you want somebody who's going to really give you a beating, that's what you do, is you go to her. So, but she's also really sweet. Her other job is, I guess she's like works for hospice, in the sense of whatever France's version of hospice is. She's going and visiting people as they're dying, helping them to, be comforted into eventually dying so they're not too worried about it, comforting the families. And, she really built up a relationship with a 13-year-old girl in this who's dying, and her family does not come come and see her. And there's a reveal about that towards the end of the movie that I'm also not going to spoil, because I do think this is the kind of film you should check out. You can watch it on Amazon Prime for free, Tubi for free. Like I said, this movie doesn't even have a Wikipedia page, so it wasn't popular, and I really cannot figure out why. Is it because of the very dark subject matter? That's the only reason I can think. Now, I am somebody who does appeal to melodramas. I do like movies that I know are manipulating my emotions, and this movie is 100% trying to manipulate your emotions. I'm just saying that manipulation did work on me while I was watching it. You know, it definitely does feel like an indie drama where sometimes it's like, you're being a little bit pretentious, but it really didn't bother me that much. And then literally the entire third act just broke my heart, and it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And then when the final shot happens, I mean, it leaves you broken. Like, I couldn't believe it. I audibly shouted, "No!" Like, and that never happens. And my wife was sitting next to me, and she's like, what did happen? I'm like, because she's not watching the movie. She's playing her games. But I was, like, in shock, and I couldn't believe it. And I just still, after watching the movie, cannot believe that people didn't really come out to see this one. I guess that's the power of promotion. Again, there is some dark subject matter in this movie, and of course there's a lot of sexual content in this film, which is very much in line with the French, so it makes a lot of sense. But I can understand why this wouldn't appeal to everybody, but we live in a world where Poor Things comes out, and Poor Things, in my opinion, has much more sex and much more sex oriented than a film like this. I just think this was a pretty well-made movie that really deserves more love. So if you guys could check out After Fall Winter, I really enjoyed this one. Definitely worth your time. If I was going to give this one a score of 1 to 10, I'm going to give this one an 8.5 out of 10. And then the last two movies we're going to talk about is The Adventures of Ford Fairlane and Back to the Beach. Now, why do I have these on DVD? Well, at my regular Joe job, I work at a butcher shop, and I work with this guy named Bill, a real good guy. Well, he knows I love movies, and he decided to pick up some DVDs, lend them out to me so that I could check out these movies that he absolutely loved. Now, The Adventures of Ford Fairlane is something that he was a big fan of, and he said, if you're into this kind of sense of humor, you'll absolutely love it. You look this movie up, and it was panned by critics, mainly because you really had to be on board with Andrew Dice Clay and his style of humor, because this is the same year actually that he sold out Madison Square Garden twice. Now, I was a little bit past Andrew Dice Clay. He wasn't really a stand-up comedian for me, but he was very much in the moment. So if you were there in the late 80s, early 1990s, he was huge. So of course they invented a vehicle for him called The Adventures of Ford Fairlane. The thing is, this movie is filled with so many big-name actors and cameos that pop up, just showing you the power of Andrew Dice Clay all the time. The movie wasn't a financial success, but I had a blast watching it. This movie is really, really funny. Andrew Dice Clay, not the world's greatest actor, but he is pretty good. He's very committed to his role. Obviously, he's doing his Andrew Dice Clay shtick. He's a rock and roll detective, which, again, people knock this movie on. They should be very well aware this is a parody of like those detective stories, those noir stories. This guy's a rock and roll detective. He only investigates crimes around rock and roll. And after a lead singer gets killed of a rock and roll band, played by Vince Neil, by the way, and the rest of the band, Ozzy Osbourne's in there, so just everyone was popping up. He's got to go do some investigating, go do some digging until we find out who our main bad guy is, played by Wayne Newton. Another girl who pops up is Lauren Holly, looking very 1980s with some of her haircuts in this movie, but she's really sweet as well. She's just by far the best actress in this movie. Gives the best performance, bar none. But you're there for the humor. You're there for everything that Andrew Dice Clay is doing, all the jokes he's making, all the meta jokes he's making. There's a koala bear in this movie. I'm not going to spoil that, but that's some really funny stuff. Like early in the movie, somebody comes up to him and asks for his phone number, and he goes 555, I think something else, whatever the four numbers. And she's like, hey, 555 is not a real number. That's in the movies. And he's like, what do you think this is? Unbelievable. 1-800-UNBELIEVABLE. I mean, and of course, it's raunchy, it's dirty, it's of the time, but it's actually kind of mild compared to like films we get in 2025. It's just some of the jokes probably won't hold up anymore just because of the society we live in. Doesn't mean those jokes aren't funny. A joke's a joke, and I just think that this movie is filled with some great ones. It's very enjoyable. The DVD, not the best of quality, obviously, but there is a Blu-ray out there, so I might end up grabbing it because I did enjoy my time with this, and so did my wife. She had a blast watching it as well. We've just had some big laughs in this movie. Wayne, everyone's just game to do it. I mean, David Patrick Kelly, world-class actor. He pops up in this movie, gets slid across the bar, beat the shit out of. No one's afraid to make a fool out of themselves. It looked like everybody was having fun, so it's kind of a shame this movie didn't really make that much money, and it's kind of considered a failure now, because when you go back and watch it, I think you'd appreciate it a lot more than people appreciated back in the early 1990s. It's like my buddy Bill said, people were either on board with Andrew Dice Clay or they weren't. It just seems like, unfortunately, a lot of people weren't. And then the other movie we're going to be talking about is Back to the Beach. And this movie stars Frankie Avalon, and Annette Funcilio. Now, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. This movie came out in 1987. Those two were big-time actors back in, like, the 60s. She was on the Mickey Mouse Club, and they bring all that up in the beginning of this movie. Very meta movie. Essentially saying, like, how these people were big, the big kahuna back in their time. And, you know, now they had to go back, settle down. They got married, started a family. All that stuff is fictional. They didn't actually get married in real life. So it's really playing with the fourth wall. Very meta. Very much a parody as well of those movies that came out in that era, those beach movies. Also very much a parody of, like, the 80s. What are those, like, those mountain resort movies, like the big race at the end of the mountain. Reminded me of Always Sunny in Philadelphia, who did an episode like that with the big race on the mountain. Winner gets to take the mountain. This movie ends with a big surfing contest where the winner gets the beach. Makes no sense. It's absolutely ridiculous. That's how you should know you're in a parody movie, but people seem to miss that. Like, the over-the-top performances by the leads were great for this movie, and I enjoy even the child actor, who I looked it up, didn't do anything else after this, really. He doesn't even have a Wikipedia page either. But, you know, he's doing the opening and closing narration, explaining his family, explaining, you know, what happened with his parents, how his dad kind of turned into a grumpy car salesman, kind of lost his youth. Really nice, simple story. His mom is still very sweet. They got to go to L.A. That's where their daughter is, Lori Loughlin. She's engaged, and they don't even know it yet. Lori Loughlin, this is the only other movie besides Full House that I've ever seen her in. I've never seen her in a film. I've only seen her as, you know, Uncle Jesse's wife on Full House. So it's funny to see her pop up in here, and she is really, really, really young in this movie. My God, like, she really is a child at this point. You know, she's, you know, a young child. She's about to get married. Obviously, her dad's not happy about that. That's another conflict in this movie. Another movie that's a musical, and I said I'm not the world's biggest musical fan, but this is the perfect way to do it. Also, I kind of like the songs. I like these beach songs that they're playing throughout the movie. I've heard a few of them, so anytime they jump into song, it's not really a big deal. The plot's still moving along. There's still some really funny moments throughout it. A very, very, very colorful film. I looked it up because I watched it on that DVD. There's a Paramount Presents Blu-ray. I'm definitely going to grab that. This movie not only reminded me of Grease, but it also kind of reminded me of the Brady Bunch films that came out in the 1990s, which are basically just parodies of the Brady Bunch. Another big thing that happened in the 1960s. This is a parody of stuff that took place in the 1960s as well. So I kind of felt like the tone was very similar, making fun of the hair. Of course, as somebody like me who's an 80s junkie despite never living there, I love seeing the clothes, the cars, the music. Everything was just fantastic. This is the kind of movie that I just truly love. Is it a perfect film? No. This is, like I said, it's a very fast-paced kind of comedy that flies by, but I love those kinds of movies. Those are some of my favorite movies. So Billy seems to know me pretty well because both of these movies worked very, very, very well for me. I had an absolute blast checking them both out, and it was my pleasure to actually review them here on the channel. Just like it was my pleasure to review all these movies here on the channel. I want to just thank all my channel members. I want to thank Kevin Kruger, Uncle V, Frank from Frank's Media and Reviews, Stone Gas Man, and of course, Mr. Smelly Potato. But I also want to thank Nicholas Head. He never actually makes me do one of these reviews for him. Nick, if you ever want me to, I appreciate you giving me the money every single month. But I feel like I'm not doing enough for you, buddy. So if you ever want me to review a movie for you, let me know as well. And anytime you guys want a movie review, you just got to bump it up to the director's tier and you have your own choice review each and every single month. And of course, there's no pressure. I just really appreciate all the support from everyone who is supporting me financially, but it's no pressure at all. I just hope you guys enjoyed this video. And if you did, don't forget to like it. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to share this video. That really helps. Or you can even, you know, become a channel member if you'd like. But again, no pressure. Either way, or I hope you guys enjoyed your time here. If you did, get out in those streets, tell your friends about us, and then we'll be seeing you around.